Welcome to session 2 of Join the Journey Multimedia and Accessibility. My name is Shoz Baduddin. I use she, they pronouns. I'm a digital accessibility consultant at UNC Chapel Hill. This session is being recorded and will be shared after the conference. We have professional captioning services and ASL during today's session. You can access the settings and turn these features on or off in your Zoom menus. Please use the Q&A feature to post your questions. You'll have the option to post anonymously if you prefer. If you have issues with Zoom, please let us know in chat. We have someone monitoring who can try to assist you. You can also email tap@wfu.edu. Please remember to complete the survey after the session. A link and QR code for the survey will be displayed at the end of each session. I'm pleased to introduce NCIA Head President-elect Brittany McLeod, who will be presenting Built In, Not Bolt On, Designing for Accessibility with a Strong Foundation. Brittany is an accessibility advocate with nearly a decade of experience supporting individuals with disabilities across diverse settings. She currently serves as the Assistant Director of Accessibility Resources at Forsyth Community College, where she leads professional development initiatives focused on creating inclusive, digitally accessible learning environments. Brittany holds a CPAC certification and a certification in disability inclusion and accessibility design from the University of Michigan. She also currently serves on the NCIA Head Board of Directors as Communications and Engagement Officer, and as I mentioned earlier, is the incoming president-elect. Brittany is passionate about equity and inclusion and empowers faculty, staff, and students through strategic communication and collaborative leadership. All right, Brittany, take it away.
So let me share my screen. And it is not allowing me to share my sound for some reason. We'll go ahead and get started. Okay, boom, there we are. Thank you, whoever fixed that. All right, so let me share my screen. Awesome. So first, I want to thank Sharose for that kind introduction and for helping to set the tone for today's session. I really appreciate the support and work the NC Higher Ed Digital Accessibility Collaborative does to bring together people around important topics like this one. I'm excited to welcome you all to session 2, a session designed to spark conversation, collaboration, and momentum around our shared commitment to accessibility. This session is about awareness and understanding. Some of the information you previously heard, you will hear again throughout my session today as well. Today is about being willing to take that first step or the next step towards real change. Whether you're just starting out with accessibility or have been in this space for a while, there's always room to grow, learn, and lead together. So let's explore what built in, not bolt on, designing for accessibility with a strong foundation means. Let's get started. So today we have 3 main objectives. The first one is going to be identifying the key components of multimedia and understanding how accessibility applies. Then we will discuss best practices for captions, audio descriptions, transcriptions, including when and how to use each effectively. And finally, we will learn how planning and collaboration with stakeholders ensures accessibility as a foundational part of your workflow. So beginning with accessibility and multimedia, according to the World Health Organization, at least 2.2 billion people globally have a vision impairment or blindness. They also say that by 2050, nearly 2.5 million people are projected to have some degree of hearing loss, and more than 700 million will require hearing rehabilitation. So imagine, by 2050, there may be many people who will find your text, images, audio, and videos nearly useless if it is not made accessible. And when that happens, they're likely to take their attention and their business somewhere else. But here's the good news. Making your multimedia content accessible isn't as difficult as it may seem. We have clear guidelines and best practices that tell us what to do and how to do it to ensure that everyone can enjoy our content and they can enjoy it and understand it and use it. equally. So for me, in order to begin this conversation, we have to kind of break it down and provide some clear definitions of some terms that will be used throughout today's presentation. Let's start with accessibility. According to OCR, or the Office of Civil Rights, accessibility is defined as meaning when a person with a disability is afforded the opportunity to acquire the same information, engage in the same interactions, and enjoy the same services as people without disabilities in an equally integrated and equally effective manner with a substantially equivalent ease of use. So we don't want individuals to have to do more. As Judy previously mentioned, we don't want individuals to have to go around the back of the building to get in the same building. We want to make sure that it is the same with the same access. So at its core, for me, accessibility is about equity, dignity, independence, and full participation for everyone. So now we have multimedia. According to WCAG, or the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.0, they define multimedia as audio or video synchronized with another format of presenting information and or with time-based interactive components. So that is going to be the integration of multiple forms, including text, graphics, audio, video, and more. So some common forms of multimedia are going to be slideshows, presentations, live conferencing like we are here today, including infographics, videos, podcasts, blogs, vlogs, and webinars. So that is a lot of, our day-to-day digital kind of things that we do every day. So a lot of things fall into that category. Why does accessible multimedia matter? We have to think about who we are creating multimedia for. A lot of times when things are created, we put it out to the masses and we hope that everyone is able to access that content. So when we're creating multimedia, we need to consider people with permanent disabilities such as vision or hearing loss, those with physical and cognitive disabilities, those who may be experiencing temporary disabilities such as injuries or illnesses and surgery recovery, or those situational disabilities where your environment may be hindering you from accessing the content, or those physical or cognitive limitations. Considering the possibility of a whole brand new audience that you can reach by developing accessible multimedia. So why does it matter? I'm very big on the why and feel like it's very important to secure that buy-in from individuals. So first things first, it's the right thing to do. Accessible design improves the overall experience of the user and their satisfaction with the content. Second is the smart thing to do. There's a strong business case for accessibility. Accessibility enhances your brand, drives innovation, and also extends your market reach. It just makes sense. As higher education institutions, we are a business, and this is going to allow us to reach more individuals with our teaching and learning initiatives. And finally, my favorite, it's the law. Web accessibility is required by law. Both state-supported institutions as well as the ones that receive those federal funds for grants and initiatives, it is required by law. So I want to quickly go over some of those laws. We have the Americans with Disabilities Act, and we also have Section 504. ADA is going to prohibit discrimination against people with disabilities in everyday activities, okay? And then Section 504 states that no individual with a disability in the U.S. shall be denied the benefits of, be excluded from the participation in, or be subject to discrimination under any program or activity, again, that's receiving that federal financial assistance. So both Section 504 for federally funded programs and Title II of ADA for state and local governments require equal access to all services, programs, and activities, including digital content. So if your multimedia isn't accessible, your institution could face civil rights complaints, lawsuits, or federal investigations. Regardless of Title II or Title III, depending on what entity you represent, if you are using multimedia to inform, educate, or serve the public, it must be accessible. So you may be wondering, well, Brittany, does my multimedia need to be accessible? And the answer is yes. As previously mentioned, the Title II regulations, Judy also stated, be accessible today. We got to make sure that our content is accessible. The compliance deadlines are coming and it is a must. So little background about the why. Now I want to kind of talk a little bit about what makes multimedia accessible. So the same way engineers and contractors needed guidance to build the physical environment with ramps and curb cuts, the web needed standards and guidelines that would be used by all builders of the digital world, hence the creation of WCAG, or also known as the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So WCAG, these are internationally recognized guidelines developed by the Worldwide Consortium, or the W3C, you may see it recognizes that as well, to make web content more accessible to people with disabilities, including those who use screen readers, keyboard navigation, or need captions or transcripts, again, which are now the basis for compliance and alignment with the new Title II regulations. So WCAG is organized in around 4 core principles, requiring content to be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust, often abbreviated as POUR. Within WCAG, there are 3 levels of conformance. We have level A, which is the minimum level, and that is going to require that all digital content include captions, transcripts for audio with no videos, pause functionality, volume controls, and no seizure-inducing sequences. Then we have level AA, or level AA, which includes all of the requirements for level A, as well as audio descriptions and good contrast for text overlay. As we move up in our accessibility kind of guidelines, we have level AAA, which is the gold standard of inclusion, which is going to include all of level A, all of AA, and then we will want to make sure that we have transcripts for videos, low background noise, and sign language support. So please understand that accessibility in multimedia requires multiple attention to multiple layers. It's important that everyone perceives the information conveyed through dialogue and other important cues in a video. This ensures that the information communicated by audio parts of a video is available to people who cannot hear. And that leads me to captions, okay? So what are captions? Captions are a text representation of both speech and non-important speech audio, like sound effects or music cues. Closed captions are typically represented by a CC icon, which is pictured here on the screen on either your video player or your remote. And they are essential for understanding the audio content of a video or multimedia presentation. Closed captions should include text spoken by people in videos, lyrics to music that's playing in the background, and also a description of other sounds that appear in the video that aren't represented visually. For example, if someone is opening a door, maybe they're going to jump out, that's important information that needs to be conveyed. Closed captions are mainly used by people who are deaf and hard of hearing, but now it seems as everybody is using closed captions. You can kind of find them everywhere. So having these captions available is very important. And as we prepare for the new regulations or thinking about being compliant today, it is important to add captions to all of your videos. I will pause there. I don't know if we have any questions or not.
No questions at this time, Brittany.
Awesome, thank you. So there are two types of captions. We have closed captions and we have open captions. So closed captions are going to require some sort of user action. You're going to have to toggle them off or on. They're going to offer better usability and accommodate user preferences. So if you don't want to see the captions, maybe they are distracting to you on the screen, you have the ability to take those off. If you need to alter the size or the style or the placement of the caption, closed caption is going to provide you that option. Closed captions can also be edited later. So if something is wrong with the caption, maybe something is spelled wrong or out of place, you can go back and make those edits. And it can also be searched. So if there's a keyword that I'm looking for, I'm able to search those captions to get where I need to be. Closed captions are also going to be compatible with screen readers. Thinking about open captions are always on display. So think about those videos where you can't take the words off the screen because they are burnt in or baked into the video itself. So there's no off or on, they are always visible. Open captions, sometimes they're hard to create and much more difficult to update once that video has been published, to go in and make those changes. For the open captions, it can be pretty difficult to make those updates, and also considering open captions are not going to be compatible with screen readers. So benefits of both. Closed captions, they can be toggled off and on, and they're customizable and provide that flexibility for the user. Open captions, they may be really good for events. If you just have a large event and you want people to be able to access the video or what's going on, you can have those. For social media, a lot of times when you open it, the volume is off by default. So open captions may be a good option to have. And if your hosting platform does not have a closed caption feature, open captions may be a good option. Captions can be produced in several ways. So starting out with live captions, these are made in real time, typically done by a professional real-time captioner or CART. Today, our live captions are going to be put on by 3Play Media. So thank you guys for doing that today. But thinking about a real time, trying to type and keep up with what's happening in a webinar or a meeting, you may find some errors in spelling, punctuation, clarity, and accuracy for these live captions. Live captions must be edited before being published. Sometimes they are presented in all caps and typically delayed to the audio as a live person is actually processing the sound and producing the text. Pre-recorded captions are added post-production. So after the webinar is done, someone goes in and edits those captions, or they listen to the video and add those captions. Pre-recorded captions are fully accurate, they are edited, and they have that correct punctuation. It's important once you're doing that the captions are synced with the audio. Next, we have automated captions. So these are generally produced by AI or some sort of speech recognition software. YouTube, Zoom, and Teams has this as an option. These type of captions are fast and convenient, often instant, but they may misinterpret accents and jargon that pick up some of that background noise. They're going to lack the speaker labels and punctuation and those non-speech cues. And automatic captions should always be reviewed or edited before publishing. And then we have manual captions. So these are going to be created entirely by a human, using some sort of captioning tool to kind of help them get the caption. These particular type They're highly accurate with the correct timing, speaker labels, punctuation, and sound cues. However, it may be significantly time consuming and labor intensive because one person is doing the captioning, but this is going to be the most reliable form of captioning. So, why edited captions? Because the fresh automated baptism like now are Sony 80% accurate. Yeah, did y'all get that? We're all good? We can move on now? I don't think so. The best automated captions right now are only 80% accuracy. So most automated AI captions are not perfect. They're a good starting point, but can only get you about 80% there. If we look at some of the words, it tried really hard, but not quite there. So make sure that you are editing and proofreading your captions. And WCAG 2.1 requires that captions be accurate, synchronized, and complete. And only edited captions or manually created captions are able to reliably meet this standard. So let's take it a step further. Now we have audio descriptions, another requirement for WCAG. Well, what are audio descriptions? Excuse me. Audio descriptions are narrations or verbal descriptions added to the soundtrack to describe important visual details that cannot be understood from the main soundtrack. So not only do you hear the audio, the sound effects, and the dialogue, but you have a description given context by describing what is actually happening in the video. Audio descriptions can be seen with an A and a D, typically on your on your video, if they do have an audio description provided. So this is going to benefit those with permanent, temporary, and situational disabilities. So imagine you want to watch a video and just chill out, close your eyes, maybe take a quick nap, and you still want to have context as to what you're listening to or watching. Audio descriptions can be very beneficial for you. So essentially, it is an extra track of audio that is narrating the key visual points of a video, and it's going to help people who are blind or low vision understand video events as well as artwork. All right, so before we begin this demo, I want to let you know that I'll be showing, let me stop. Before we begin, I want to let you know that I'll be showing a brief demo to highlight the importance of audio description in multimedia content. This demo intentionally includes elements that may be inaccessible to some viewers. Please know that this is purposeful to help demonstrate how critical audio descriptions are in creating an inclusive experience for all. Thank you all for understanding as we explore this together. I have two videos from the Hunger Game. One is traditional and one has audio description. Let's begin the demo.
Do with that when you kill it?
Damn you, Gail. It's not funny.
Okay, and now we will watch the video with audio descriptions.
Signs on a tall wire fence read district boundary, no access beyond this point, and high voltage. Katniss steps through a gap in the wires and heads into the woods beyond. She glances around before reaching into the hollow of a fallen tree. She draws out a wooden bow. From another tree, she plucks out a sheaf of arrows and straps it over her shoulder. Katniss makes her way through thick green vegetation. Bow and arrow at the ready, she walks over a fallen tree suspended over the forest floor. She pauses, her gaze locked on a deer in the distance. Leaning against a tree trunk, she aims the bow and arrow. The deer sniffs the air and moves out of sight.
Awesome. So, hopefully this demo kind of portrayed that if you are solely relying on your audience to receive information by sight, your video is inaccessible. So with that in mind, let's explore some best practices. So first, talk your text, title cards and lower thirds. So narrate all important text that appears on the screen. If there is text on the screen, that should be a part of the dialogue. If there is text on the screen, it should be a part of the dialogue. Otherwise, it is missed. Second, always introduce. Whenever possible, have people introduce themselves as they appear. This is going to help identify the speaker and differentiate between them throughout the video. Describe scenes that aren't heard. If a scene is purely visual, it needs to be verbally described. Using the demo as an example where Katniss in the first video was out in the wilderness. And if we could not see that she grabbed the rock or the arrow and that there was a deer hiding in the woods, all of that is missed and accessibility is out of the window. And last but not least, write scripts with dialogue that explain what is happening on the screen. If you do this, then an audio description may not be needed. And last but certainly not least, we have transcripts. So accessibility in transcriptions is crucial for ensuring that all individuals, including those with disabilities, can access and understand the content. So what are transcripts? Transcripts are a text version of the speech and non-speech audio information needed to understand content. And this is required for all audio content. Transcripts must include all spoken words, speaker identification, and relevant non-speech sounds. For example, a baby crying, fireworks going off, horse hoofs approaching, and things like that. There are several types of transcripts. First, we have time-stamped, and this is going to include spoken content with time markers indicating when each part occurred in the audio or video. Timestamps are a powerful tool in enhancing accessibility. They provide clear navigation points, making the content more manageable for individuals with disabilities. For individuals using screen readers, timestamps offer clear navigation points within the transcript, allowing the user to jump to sections without having to listen to the entire recording. Then we have descriptive transcripts, and this is going to include spoken content and a description of visual elements like actions, on-screen text, and visuals. So descriptive transcripts are detailed explanations of the visual elements in multimedia content. They describe scenes, actions, and nonverbal cues. For example, a visual description might explain a character's facial expression or a setting of a video scene. And these descriptions are essential for individuals who cannot see the visual content, making that multimedia accessible for all. Descriptive transcripts provide context of visual content that may not be evident from the audio alone. And then we have interactive transcripts. These transcripts are synced with the media playback, and the transcript actually highlights the text as the words are spoken. This allows the user to select the text in the transcript and go go right to that point in the video. So interactive transcripts can be created by using media players like Zoom and Kaltra, using that caption file in order to display the text with the actual spoken words. So I have a few transcript do's and don'ts. Some do's are you want to write exactly what is spoken. Do not paraphrase, and also describe those background sounds that may be important to context. You want to identify the speaker each time they speak, using correct spelling, punctuation, and capitalization, and ensure that your transcripts are accessible. So some creators like to keep their transcripts directly on the website. Others may use a PDF, a Word document, or Google Doc to share their transcripts. We just want to ensure that they are accessible. Don'ts. Do not rely entirely on automated transcriptions or captions. This may be great for getting started, but it's going to need some editing. So if you're starting with captions for videos, the video might have text information that is not included in the caption. For example, the title of the video or the names and titles of people speaking. If you also have description, if you don't provide that description of the visual information in those captions, you will want to go back and add that if you're going to use your captions to help create those transcriptions. And do not write your transcripts in all caps. Only use all caps for yelling and speaker identification. So good transcriptions require knowledge of which non-speech information should be included in the transcript. It's more art than science. For example, it's not always clear which non-speech audio information to include or how to communicate it in text. So if you have the resources to hire professionals to do your transcribing, that is best. But please do not let that deter you from providing transcriptions or captions with your audio and video content. So the role of tools and technology. So in the US, nearly 1 in 5 Americans have some level of disability. 1 in 4 of us have a visual disability or impairment. 1 in 4 of us has dexterity disability or impairment. And 1 in 5 of us has a hearing disability or impairment. So ask yourself, why would you develop a website that is inaccessible to part of your target audience? Why would you procure a service that a significant portion of your employees or students cannot utilize? And why would you purchase a product that your students cannot access? These are things that we want to think about. So when you're choosing your platform during that procurement process, or you're trying to figure out what links you want to post and things like that, ensure they are accessible. You can do that by obtaining a VPAC, or a voluntary product accessibility template, or an ACR, which is the accessibility conformance report. And this will allow you to access those vendors on their accessibility of their product. Ensuring that procurement of digital accessibility resources is the first step in ensuring everyone, including those with disabilities, can perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with the technology. The next thing to consider is who oversees procurement at your organization. Ensure that your organization is choosing platforms that support caption, upload, and edits, audio descriptions, and transcript linking. It is the responsibility of employees and purchasing agents to find the most accessible business solution possible when procuring digital resources. So make sure that we're doing our homework and researching the accessibility of a given product or service before signing that line. We talked about embedding accessibility checkers into your LMS course development, developing that procurement checklist and web content approval process, and also conducting that accessibility scan of your website. We do know that there are the automated checkers, but we're going to want somebody to actually be able to go in and check to make sure that the accessibility is there. Thinking about planning and collaboration during this part and building your multimedia accessibility dream team. Here's some actionable steps and takeaways. It's important to define your mission and vision. Start with that compelling why. If you remember at the beginning of my presentation, I talked about the why. Define what digital accessibility means in your context and how it aligns with your institution's values, such as equity, inclusion, and legal compliance. Have a clear vision that's going to keep your team grounded and inspired, and make sure that that vision is shared and visible. Secure executive buy-in. Institutional change needs top-down support. Leadership must understand that accessibility is not optional. It is a legal obligation and morally imperative. Their endorsement will help secure funding, policy alignment, and ensure long-term sustainability. Next, you want to identify those key stakeholders. So accessibility affects every digital touch point. Stakeholders should include IT, instructional designers, marketing, especially if they oversee websites, social media, and things like that, faculty, disability services, communications, and students. Include students in this conversation. It's very important. A cross-functional team ensures widespread buy-in, shared ownership, and it's going to make sure that everybody understands the goal. Step 4, audit your current state. Without identifying those gaps and lack of knowledge, you're basically doing guesswork and could potentially be reinventing the wheel that doesn't necessarily need to be reinvented at this time. You can improve what you don't measure, so auditing helps you understand where your institution stands with accessibility, what's working, what's broken, and what's missing. Step 5, recruit strategically. Appoint someone to lead. And ideally, this is going to be someone with authority and passion. They don't need to be an expert on day one, but they need to be persistent in their advocacy and their efforts. Do not just fill seats. Bring in team members who care, who influence, and who are ready to learn. Build on accessibility knowledge. So survey your current team's knowledge. Who understands WCAG? Who builds digital content? Who's going to do the training to level everybody on your team up? And then provide those trainings tailored to each role, keeping the what and the why in mind. Integrating accessibility into your existing workflow. So make accessibility a part of how things are done, from the content design to IT to procurement. Make it a default practice and not an afterthought. Don't create extra work and embed accessibility into the workflow that people already use. Build it in, don't bolt it on. Establish clear roles and responsibilities. So ambiguity causes inaction. Define roles clearly so each team member understands the scope and their responsibility in contributing to this overall goal. Track progress and celebrate wins. Celebrate your progress. This is a huge undertaking, one step at a time. We're not looking for perfection, we're looking for progress. And use these metrics, use stories to build morale. And this is going to help justify additional resources and definitely keep your leadership informed to keep that momentum going. And 10, plan for sustainability. That is very important, if not the most important. Once all the work is done, we have to keep the momentum going as the laws change, as we sign new contracts, as we procure new vendors, making sure that all of our hard work is not in vain and that we have truly made accessibility a part of our institutional DNA. So that is all that I have for you guys today. I think I'm right at my time. I was a little nervous, but I made it. So opening the question for final thoughts and Q&A.
That was excellent, Brittany. Yeah, perfect timing. You've got a ton of questions. I'm going to start with the first one. Where did you find the 80% number? I've personally found it significantly higher, but that may be just in my use case using Vimeo. My understanding is that closed captions have specific formatting or visual requirements. Can you speak to that as well?
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of the question. All of my citations and all the research, I can't specifically say right now. I've done a lot of research to prepare for this, but all of my citations are here. I know different AI kind of have different numbers that they say, but 80% was the number that I was able to find. If you know somewhere higher, please do share.
The next part of that question is my understanding is that closed captions have specific formatting requirements, visual requirements. Can you speak to that?
Specific visual requirements. I believe it's all about however you are going to upload it, you want to make sure that it is, oh gosh, I can't think of the acronym right now. I'm sorry. I may have to get back
No,
to you.
I don't remember the acronym, but I think I know what you're trying to say. It's just that it's high contrast to the background.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many acronyms, I'm starting to lose track.
Sure. Yeah.
It
High
has to be
contrast to the
formatted in a
background.
certain way for sure.
And often default is usually the desired setting. Would you say so?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question, this is going, can you give an example of how someone would introduce themselves as they appear?
Awesome. So thinking about just this webinar just coming on, and I apologize because I did not do that. My name is Brittany McLeod. I'm an African-American woman around 30 years old. Today I have on a blue shirt with glasses and my hair is down. That was more of a detailed audio description. But thinking about in a movie, you could say maybe starting in the beginning when everybody comes in, they identify themselves. So, hey, Sharose, good to see you today. And then you respond back, and then I can kind of place that voice in my mind that when I hear that voice, that is Sharose. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about introducing yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one thing I've noticed is it often includes your name, your role, and your physical description, especially if it's the first time you're speaking. Okay, so another question, are there audio description tools that you recommend?
I do not. I believe that is going to be addressed in some of our other sessions today. They're going to be mentioning some tools for you guys. So I don't want to steal their thunder.
Good plug, Brittany. Stay tuned for our next few sessions. Let's see. I've heard of narrative style transcripts. Can you explain what these are? Are they still accessible?
Narrative style transcripts. Yes. So a lot of times they say that the transcript should read like print review. So if you think about an article, how it just kind of speaks through is very slow, it's very clear, kind of like if you listen to an audio book. That is how I would suggest doing your transcripts and things like that. Was it transcripts or was it audio descriptions? I'm sorry.
It's a narrative transcript was in the question.
Narrative transcripts, yes. So it should read like a print review, very detailed, providing, which one you want to do. If it's descriptive, making sure you're putting in that visual information into this transcript. I would definitely encourage being as descriptive as possible in your transcript so you're not having to go back and make more, but definitely be as descriptive as possible.
Thank you. There is a related question that asks, are there any tools to assist in audio description? Is there a tool that you'd like to recommend, or should viewers stay tuned for the next few sessions?
I think they should stay tuned. And if they don't answer, then we can kind of come back to that question.
Sounds good. All right, a couple technical questions. Captioning includes lyrics to songs playing in the background. Should this be included in transcripts as well, or only when relevant?
I say why not? We want to make sure that our viewers have as much information as to what is going on. If they cannot access it visually or auditory, we want to make sure that they are able to get, again, going back to that definition, the same. So if it's going to be missed, add it in. I would say that would be best practice.
Thanks, Brittany. I think that makes sense that it's best practice. You want to say that if the song lyrics are there, it's there with a purpose. So for folks that can perceive it auditorily, they should be able to perceive it by sight as well.
Like, think about if a family is driving down to vacation and they're all singing a song that kind of speaks to summer or something that they've done. Like, it's a tradition, you want to make sure that your viewers are able to get that content as well.
Okay. Another technical question is whether song lyrics are ADA required.
I would say yes, it's a part of like maybe not ADA. If ADA is basing off of WCAG, I would say it's more WCAG. That may be a Judy question. I don't want to misspeak, but I would definitely include that.
I think though, going back to your previous answer, best practice is if the audio is there, then the text version is there as well. And whether that's lyrics or a haiku or conversation, it's in the transcript. Not legal advice. Let me see. There is another one asking a bit more about the visual format for captions, if there are font requirements, size, specific fonts.
So this kind of goes back to another presentation I've done. I always would encourage using a sans serif font with make sure they have feet, don't do a lot of loopy text and things like that. And I think that standard 14 would be like a minimum font, 14 and above.
Thank you. Yeah, and then I want to emphasize before too, if you set it to default, the user can adjust to what fits them best or what works for them best. This is another technical question. Is there a way for users to toggle audio descriptions on off, for example, on YouTube, like they can with closed captions, or do we upload two versions?
So if I'm not mistaken, it is an extra track that is added. I'm thinking about on Netflix, when I go kind of over, you have the different accessibility options, and I'm allowed to click if that video has that file, the audio description file uploaded, then I'm able to toggle that off and on as needed.
It's interesting you brought up Netflix, as I feel like this might be platform dependent. So I know that for some folks, for some platforms, I think with YouTube, I don't believe YouTube has a setting to switch between audio description or captions the way Netflix does. So this may be dependent on a platform. And if that's the case, like in YouTube's case, you would need to upload two versions.
Yes. So
separate videos.
The demo that I showed, I looked desperately to find if there was just a button for me to click to show the audio description, but there was not. So I definitely think it depends on the platform, and also how did the person post the content? Did they make sure they provided the audio description, the transcriptions, the caption, and things like that? It's a lot of the development and what the platforms allow, which is kind of going back to the slide, making sure you're choosing the platforms that have these accessibility features built in, and you're thinking about this on the front end.
Thank you so much, Brittany. We still have a lot of questions, but we are at time, and I would like to ask our viewers to stay tuned for a poll. Brittany, thank you so much for your presentation and for sharing the basics of captioning and audio descriptions, and also for those examples. I'd like to also thank our viewers for engaging with Brittany and in our Q&A. Please make sure to answer the survey. The link is in the chat, and you will soon see a poll come up. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.